Om Shri Ganeshaya Namaha, Om Gam Ganapate Namaha, Om Vakratunda Mahakaya, Surya Koti Samaprabha, Nirvignam Kurume Deva, Sarvakareshu Sarvada, Om Ganganapate Namaha, Om Namo Narayanaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Shri Hanumate Namaha, Shri Sadgurubhyo Namaha. Welcome to Nitya Satsang. Today is the 4th of March 2026. I want to offer my prostrations to all the great sages and to Bhagwan, residing in the heart of every single being. We heard one of the poems written by Sadguru Muktanand Swami, Santa Jana Soi Sada Mohe Bhave. And I want to talk about that today in connection to this Dasatva Bhakti and of course the other forms of Bhakti also. This particular 4-line poem has within it the extract of every single scripture ever written. Right? So the entire Bhagavad Gita is in this, the Bhagavatam is in this, the Ramayana is in this, the Bible is in this, everything, all Sat Shastra are inside these 4 lines. Okay, so it's just a 4-line poem, but everything is there. So I want to go into it and also to show the power of the words and the glory of these words, their intensity of the writings of the Paramahansas of Bhagavan Swami Narayan. So here's the very first line, Santa Jana Soi Sada Mohe Bhave, Deha Indriya Aru Mana Adika Ke Sanga Mein Nahi Lapatave. Right? So this is the line number 1. So actually the first line, so there's 4 lines and then what is called take, meaning that's the first line that is repeated. So that doesn't count in that. Santa Jana Soi Sada Mohe Bhave. For what does that mean? Saints, sages, saintliness, Sant ke gun. Without that, there is no adhyatma. There is no spirituality. There is no realization of the Atman or Brahman or Paramatma or anything. It will never ever happen without saintly qualities. Saintly qualities are not just for people who are wearing orange clothes or saffron clothes or white clothes or whatever, or are in some religious organizations. Yeah, they're trying to develop them. The saintly qualities are for everybody. Every human being has the right to become a sage, a muni, a sant, an individual who is highly evolved. Sant means one who has reached that communion with God through the flowering of divine qualities, Sat Gun. That is called sadhu. There's a difference between sant and sadhu also. It's a fine line kind of situation, but sadhu it belongs to different paths, different traditions. We can say Buddhist sadhu or Vaishnava sadhu like this, Christian monks are there. Sant koi particular group ke nahi hote. They may be in a group, but they're internally not in any group. Sant is Vasudeva Kutumbakam. That is Sant. That's what we're talking about here every day. So Santa Jana Soi Sada Mohe Bhave. Mohe means Bhagwan Kere. This is it is like a way to depict what God would like, what God wants. Bhagwan Krishna ke, this is chapter 12 is in the Gita. Who is pleasing to me? Bhakti man me priyo na raha. If we want to become dear to God, then we have to reach saintliness. This sounds scary many times. Like, what do you mean? How can we be saintly? We're living in this crazy world and we have to maintain all kinds of, rag, dvesh, klesh and competition and this and that. What do you mean being saintly? How is that possible? Of course it's possible. We still do our duties relatively, whatever it is, and then maintain saintliness. It's definitely possible. We don't want to do it. We meaning not all of us necessarily, but people in general don't want to do this. But if you will do it, it is amazing. Bhagwan ka sakshatkar hota hai. God's realization happens. Now, what is he saying, Muktanand Swami, in this? Santa Jana Soi Sada Mohe Bhave, Deha Indriya Aru Mana Adika Ke Sanga Mein Nahi Lapatavi. So that is the first line actually. This physical, mind, senses, body, etc., deha, indriya, aru man adi ke, man, buddhi, chit, ahankar. All of this is with us. So sanga mein nahi lapatavi. That means the sadhu, sant is an individual who doesn't get bound by the bodily activities, the sense activities, and the antakaran is not bound anywhere within. It's amazing, right? Why? Deha indriya aru mana adika ke sangame nahi lapatav. Sangha means what? It's the contact that is there with the outside world. Contact is there, but not to be bound. Laptave means to be trapped inside. So this is a very critical point, that when we have dasatva bhakti, we don't want to be trapped. The purpose of getting established in bhakti is to come out of all these bondages. So these bondages are so deep inside. They're so severe inside. This is why extensive sadhana, deeper sadhana, heightened connection is needed. Now, in that dasatva bhakti, most people, they are just slaves of their own senses and mind and everything. But when we become the servant of God, this whole system changes. The eyes, ears, nose, touch, tongue, everything changes. Now, let's look at some practical applications. The eyes change in their function. How do they change in their function? Because the eyes are used for seva. They're not used simply for just egotistical activity. The ears are used for seva. They're used, all five senses are placed in the swarup of Paramatma. They're placed in the form of God. So they're used, not abused or misused. And this is the key. The ears and eyes, for example, a lot of stimulation comes through that. But not to be bound there. So to not to be bound there is to place them in the seva, in the service of Bhagavan. Right? This is true with all the senses, with the karmindriyas, jnanindriyas, and the antakarana also, man, buddhi, chit, ahankar. The man, buddhi, chit, ahankar is also placed in dasatva. This mind that is there is placed for seva, mental seva. The buddhi, intellect, is used for seva. The ahankar is used for seva. Ahankar not in a negative sense. It is used in a sense to promote the spirituality, promote the spiritual path. And it's also used as a way to bind with God. So ahankar is not the problem. It's just a question of where it is bound. And the chitta, which is the subconscious mind with all the memories, that is also used for seva. It is used for seva by recognizing the past activities and then developing one's life in a very beautiful way. So man, buddhi, chit, ahankar, the five sense organs and five action organs, are all used for seva. And when we use them for dasatva bhakti meaning servitude, then there's freedom. So this point here, deha indriya aru mana adika ke sangame nahi lapatave. Sangame nahi lapatave. Sangha means, the eyes don't get bound, meaning the individual doesn't get bound in the vishayas of the eyes. They're there. Objects are there. There's no binding there. None. There's no binding anywhere with any sense objects. It's not rejecting sense objects, it's being unbound in their interaction. Right? So that's a big thing. Now, sense objects means everything. People, places, situations, everything. And then at the same time, internally, there's no binding. We're free from inside. That's what our angel wing program is about. We just talked about that yesterday evening. Right? So the freedom from within is to be unbound in each hour to hour. We've talked about that in the angel wing program. That's the foundation for all this stuff, for our satsang here. So please attend that if you can, or if you can get this directly, then you're on your way. Bandhani nahi. Point number 1 for today, there's no binding anywhere. There's interaction. There's love, but not binding. Binding is only with Narayana, Bhagavan, Ishta Devata, Mataji, Devi, Bhagwan Shankar, koi bhi swarup hai Bhagavan ka. Bind there. And that's the only place to be bound. And then, of course, with the Sant Parampara, to be bound in the saintliness, not with the personalities. If you get stuck with the personalities, that'll cause divisiveness. For example, if I love Ramakrishna Paramahansa, which I do, I can get bound to his photo, his picture, his personality. It's okay. In the beginning stages, that is natural. But that is not the actual spirituality. I mean, I can wind up getting divisive. This is my guru, this is my this is my that. For example, in the Swaminarayan Sampradaya, I've had several gurus from there. I can be bound to their personality. I can respect their personality. I must respect their personality. But my binding is to their spirituality, not to the personality. I hope this point is clear. So the binding to the personality is only of the incarnations of God. हाँ, वो ध्यान रखना. So this is the Leela Charitra. भगवान के जो लीला चरित्र है, yes, and then the personality is the divinity. And actually that is true even with enlightened saints. But we can get deflected sometimes, and we have to be careful with that. I don't want to go into that subject right now. But binding to the personality is of Bhagwan Krishna, Bhagwan Ram, Bhagwan Shankar. Unki jo personality hai, which we may not know actually because we are not with them when they came, but we know it from scriptures. Then that is fine. Up to that extent is perfectly all right. But not to be bound to anybody's persona. No body, B-O-D-Y. Absolutely not a single animal, not a single tree, not a single human body. Any body that is there, B-O-D-Y, one is not to be bound anywhere there. That is Param Vairagya, Purna Vairagya. Kisi ke, and including this body, especially if we're unbound to our body, we'll be unbound to everybody else. Body is not to be destroyed, there's no disrespect, there's nothing like that. This is what Muktanand Swami is saying. Deha Indriya Aru Mana Adika ke, man, Buddhi Chit, Ahankar, Man Adike, etc. Sang mein nahi lapatave. Sang mein nahi laptave. Or see how our mind is bound to so many objects of the world, so many people of the world. It's bound, it's stuck. Isn't it so? This is why I told you this is very powerful. In very simple language, he said, you're unbounded. This true saint is one who is unbounded. It's totally free. अकेले रहते हैं कोई बात नहीं, with 1,000 people are there कोई बात नहीं, सत्संग में जाते हैं कोई बात नहीं, with family members, anywhere the person goes is unbounded. Interaction varies based on circumstance, place, situation, dharma, etc. Interaction is always there. संत की जो स्थिति है उसमें कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता. There's no difference in that. बहुत ध्यान रखना, right? So very, very beautiful. It's absolutely very beautiful. There's no binding. None. Absolutely none. It is a state of 100% internal freedom. Antarik swatantrata. There is such a state. There absolutely is. But that's why we're studying this today. I just added this as another link into the bhakti. So, and when we are in that unbounded state with Purna Vairagya, there's Purna love, duty is there. We understand these points. And when Muktanand Swami is writing this, Deha Indriya Aru Mana Adika ke Sangha mein nahi lapatave, to resonate with those lines and the Santa Parampara. Guru Paramparas are many. Take good qualities from all. Learn from, if you have particular personal guru and all that, beautiful, very nice. Gita can be guru, Krishna can be guru also. Ramakrishna Paramahansa's teaching can be guru, Vachanamrut can be guru. Guru ultimately means it's a transition from gu to ru, from andhakar, darkness, into light. The light is divinity. The guru is actually internal. That's the only real guru. The outside gurus are teachers, teachers, people, enlightened people, whatever they are outside, they are there for the internal development. And if we lose that sight of inner development, then we've lost the whole, then it becomes externalized, hero worship. You start worshipping somebody, running after somebody, things like that. But internally koi development nahi hoti. So that should not happen. One has to be very careful, right? So it's all about inner development into the state of saintliness. Santa Jana. Jana means saints, it's a plural. Now the second line is as follows. Kama krodha aru lobha moha vasha hoyana manalala chave. Kama krodha aru lobha moha vasha hoyana manalala chave. Manalala, this is written in like Hindi, but it's some variation of Hindi. It's very interesting. In Gujarati we say man ne lalchavu. That means you are spinning your mind. You're getting, it's like binding in different places. Maybe that is not the exact translation. I have to see through the AI the exact translation for this. For this word lalchavu in English. If somebody knows, you can tell me. But my understanding of it is that it's getting stuck in different places. It's getting stimulated it's getting attracted in different places like that, So, काम, क्रोध, अरु, लोभ, मोह, वश. ध्यान रखना इस points पर. काम, we know what is काम. Desires of all kinds, not just the sexual one. Thousands of kinds of desires are there. Krodh, anger, and moha. So काम, क्रोध, अरु, लोभ, moha. Lobh and moha, 4 points. Kam, krodh, lobh, moha. Moha is delusion. One of the Vachanamrut that really looks at this is Garada Madhya number 1 Vachanamrut. I'm doing some research on that. There will be a massive book published on that one Vachanamrut. Maybe next year sometime, maybe later this year, depending on my timing and all that. Moha kya hai? Asatya mein satya ki bhranti, satya mein asatya ki bhranti. That is called moha. Moha means delusion. The word in English is delusion, not illusion, but the word is delusion. Delusion. That is called moha. So kam, krodh, we understand what is krodh, anger and all that. So the saints do not have anger. They may be strict sometimes, but an enlightened saint has left the anger. Krodh ko chhod diya. Is it very harmful? So kam, krodh, lobh. Lobh is also not there. That's a tough one. Greed, wanting to be possessive, wanting this. Kitna lobh hota hai. So many examples. I won't go into that right now. Kam, krodh, aru, lobh, moha, vash. Vash ho jate. Vash means dependence. Paratantra. It's despondency, dependency. Adhin. Kam, krodh, moha और लोभ के अधीन बन जा. Adhin, not swadhin. Adhin. So swadhin is Atma Chaitanya. You are independent and free. Paradhin and swadhin. Paradhin means dependent on these instincts and bound by them. Ahoyana manalalachave. You see, these things, if they are present, they do not, first of all, they are subdued naturally and they do not disturb the mind at all. जो मन दिया है, मन बुद्धि चित्त अहंकार, our mental activity is absorbed in higher consciousness, in God. So काम, क्रोध, अरु, लोभ, मोह, वश. Vash means that they are binding us. काम, क्रोध, लोभ, मोह, they are binding us. होय न मन ललचावे. मेरो ही ध्यान रटन मुख मेरो. सोतजी अन्य न जावे, संत जन सोई सदा मोहे भावे. मेरो ही ध्यान रटन मुख मेरो. भगवान कहते हैं मेरा ही ध्यान है माइंड में. This is mark of a true saint. Can we reach that? Of course. Of course we can. We are always externalizing this. That we read these kinds of poems. Somebody else, some big saint somewhere else. Why you're not a big saint? Are you not a big saint? But what is meant by a big saint? With 10 heads and big body and 1,000 people sitting and bowing down? Is that a big saint? बड़े संत कौन है जिसकी ऐसी स्थिति है? It has nothing to do with how many shishas, mandirs, disciples, this, the externalities. It has nothing to do with that. That may be there, it's fine, it's okay. स्थिति की बात है. अखंड ब्राह्मी स्थिति, जीवन मुक्त स्थिति. कितनी सुंदर बात है. मेरो ही ध्यान रटन मुख मेरो. सोतजी अन्य न जावे, संत जन सोई सदा मोहे भावे. मेरो ही ध्यान. Not the Vishayas, not the Panch Vishayas, not this madness inside this world that is going on. We are aware of it. Dhyan isme nahi hai. The concentration, focus, and the entrapment is not there in anywhere in this sansar. Kya baat hai? Amazing. Mero hi dhyan. Bhagwan kehte mere par focus hai. Anybody who has reached God has done this. Anybody. Mero hi dhyan ratana mukha mero. From the mouth to speak. Mero hi dhyan ratana mukha. Meaning that from the mouth, My glories are spoken. In the Vaishnava organizations, they talk a lot about singing the glories of God. भगवान का महिमा, भगवान की सब बात है, भगवान में वृत्ति वहां होनी चाहिए. मेरो ही ध्यान रटन मुख मेरो. This is the mark of a true saint and true dasatva. This is dasatva. मेरो ही ध्यान रटन मुख मेरो, सो तजी अन्य न जावे. So meaning that dhyan, that ratan, वो जो ratan है, that naam ratan, bhajan, bhakti, kirtan, it does not go in other places. It goes in other places only for functional purpose, and it comes right back into that link again. There's nothing like this, folks, in the world. Karke dekho. In the beginning, it's difficult a little bit to try, but at least understand what Bhuktanand Swami, for all, Sachin is telling Sachin only, what he's saying actually. Mero hi dhyan. He means only me. Mai avesh mano imam. All the verses of the Gita are in these lines. Mero hi dhyan ratan mukha mero. So taji anya na jave. Anya na, the dhyan doesn't go in other places. You are aware of it. Whatever is there, it is all just a bubble. It has no consequence. But it has consequence relatively to do our duties, wish well for all. Forget about it. It is pralay. Usko kehte hain jnaan pralay. If you're writing things down, writing down these terms, Gnan Pralay. Gnan Pralay means that the entire domain of Prakriti has been destroyed. It's not there. Bhagwan is there. Bhagwan ka dham satya hai. Bhagwan ke mukta satya hai. That's it. And everything else is just coming and going, and it has no consequence. Brahman ka bhi kuch consequence nahi hai. Bilkul nahi. All these galaxies and everything, they're just bubbles only. That's what the scripture said. We know that also. Iska koi importance nahi. In terms of, its importance is there so we can finish our sadhana and that not to be bound inside the prison of the material world. Right? So be very careful on this point. Mero hi dhyana ratana mukha mero, so taji anya na jave. Isko, so taji. Taji means those who are trying to realize Paramatma, and then a point comes, you say, let that thing go and flip into some other direction. No. That doesn't happen with enlightened saints. This is the mark of a true sadhu, true sant. And that can be us. If we are in this state, that is us. That is what we want. Don't externalize only, right? So taji anya na jave. That's the second line. Now, the third line. Shara akshara aru अक्षर पर की सब ही समझ उर लावे सब गुण पूर्ण परम विवेकी गुण को मानना आवे संत जन सोई सदा मोहे भावे. How beautiful it is. Shara akshara aru akshar par ki. Shar, akshar or akshar se par, Paramatma hai Bhagwan. 3 points. The pura Tattvagnan, the entire Tattvagnan of all the scriptures, all the acharyas is in this line. Entirety. Kshar, K-S-H-R means the Brahmand, everything that is perishable. Understanding how it functions, what it is, what it's all about, we are aware of that. That knowledge, that understanding is there. To some extent, through science and other things, we are aware of it. Shar or Akshar. Akshar means imperishable. The Atma is Akshar. Akshar meaning indestructible. That's what it means. Kshar, K-S-H-R means everything that is changing. The Atma Chaitanya is not changing, or Akshar Dham jo hai, Bhagwan ka jo dham hai, wo it is unchanging. Param Dham. It is Akshar. Akshar means it is beyond Maya and it is not changing, it is eternal. Or Akshar se bhi par, that is Bhagwan Purushottam, Narayan. That is the one supreme tattva. So Shar, Akshar, Aru, Akshar par ki. Sabahi samaj ura lavi. This tattva gnan. Jeev, Ishwar, Maya, Brahm, Parabrahm. Jeev, Ishwar, Maya, Akshar, Brahm, Parabrahm. Isko panch bhed kehte hai. Iski jo understanding hai, it comes solid inside. That is a tattva gnan ka gyan, jisko gyani kehte hai. Not just an intellectual understanding, but it's internalized in terms of sadhana, it's internalized in terms of the tattva itself. A lot of contemplation is done, Guru Krupa is there, and one brings that understanding solid inside. That what is Shar, what is Akshar, what are Ishwaras, everything is solid. What is, wo jo Bhagwan ka dham kaisa hai, Golok, Vaikunthadik dham, that understanding is solidly sitting inside. Sabahi samaja ura lave. Ur means inside the heart. Shara, Akshara, Aru, Akshara, Paraki, Sabahi, Samaja, Uralave. Samaj. Why that Samaj? Because it's first of all, it's conceptualization. To conceptualize, we can see this material world, but we cannot see what is Akshara Brahma or the Atma Chaitanyam or the Ishwaras. So we have to visualize that based on the scriptures. And then that visualization is brought inside through Shraddha, and then as sadhana continues, as Krupa occurs, that visualization is there just for our understanding. So that understanding becomes clear, but that understanding is not Anubhav still. Anubhav, Bhagwan ki Krupa se uska Anubhav hota hai. But the understanding has to be there first. Right? So that's what he's saying here. Shara, Akshara, Aru, Akshara, Paraki, Sabehi Samaja Ura Lave. Why is that? Because when you bring this inside, that is the best use of our intellect. Shankaracharyaji's commentaries, Ramanujacharyaji's commentaries, the Vaishnava literature, what other great saints and others have written on Ved, Vedanta, etc. It's called Samjan in Gujarati. It's understanding, it's brought inside. Gnaneshwari is there, Santa Tukaram's teachings are there. So many amazing all over the world. It is brought inside. Shar, Akshara, Aru, Akshara, Paraki, Sabahi Samaja Uralave. Sabaguna Purana Parama Viveki. Guna ko manana ave. Aha. This is a mind-blowing statement. Amazing. When divine qualities open up, Nirlobh, Nishkam, Niswad, Nirman, these fantastic qualities. Aham Shunya Bhav, Bahut Bhakti, Divyata, tremendous saintly qualities flower. Sabaguna Purana. Gun doesn't mean this Maya ke gun. We're talking about Sadgun ki baat hai yahan. Sabaguna Purana Parama Viveki. The saint is filled with the 64 qualities, divine qualities. Dasatva Bhakti, everything is there. Just this is a sthiti ki baat hai. But that saint is Param Viveki. That sant is Param Viveki. Why? Guna ko manana ave. Qualities are brimming. They're just opening by Krupa. But there is no ego of those qualities. That's some very difficult. That's even billion times more difficult than even having those qualities open up. You know, in our life, even one of these qualities opens up. Let's say humility opens up, and then 100 people start telling Sachin, you're a very humble person. Sachin, you're a very nice person. You're a great devotee. These people, it'll go to your head. And not 100 people, even just 2 people, 3 people, and then if 3 people have made good comments about Sachin at some temple, then my ego kicks in to say, abhi to mandir mein jana hi chahiye. Why? So that I can, we not even tell ourselves this thing, but the ego is lurking. I want to hear that from that person. 3 people said, you're doing good tilak, you're doing good danvat. Something good they said about us. And we're flying on cloud. Kitna murkhta hai ye sab hai. This nonsense baat hai. Sabaguna purana parama viveki guna ko na ave. In fact, many people start doing sadhana. More intense sadhana because they're getting praise. Think about this. You start doing, if you go to mandir, try it sometime. You'll notice this happens. Mala lena and start doing the pradikshana. And go regularly, just as an example, right? Somebody goes regularly and you start doing 51 pradikshana every time you go. Somebody will say, Kya bhakti hai? What you're doing, such a great devotee, such bhav. And then when we hear that statement, the ego will grab hold of that thing. This is what Muktanand Swami is talking about. Sabaguna purana parama viveki guna ko manana ave. Parama vivek, this is why this is written. Out of grace, out of karuna, not because of his ego, Muktanand Swami. It's not that. He's describing what is a true saint, because he himself was that. That's why. Kitni difficult baat hai. If 5 people tell Sachin, you are a very good devotee, you're very gnani, you're very this, you're very that, you're very... Just even one person, not even 5 people, one person. That becomes a force to, then if on Sundays I go to the Swaminarayan Mandir or to the Hindu Mandir or to some other Mandir, and I go there regularly and I start doing 51 pradikshana, somebody will say, kya bhakti hai, kitni bhakti? That's good for them that they're saying that. But if my ego grabs hold of that, I'm finished. Then if my ego grabs hold of that, I will go every Sunday just because of that ego, not because of God. See the danger in spiritual life. See the danger. Sabaguna Puran. And Muktanand Swami is not talking about just 1 or 2 qualities. He's talking about the fullness of saintly qualities. The Shrimad Bhagavatam lists 39. Chapter 16 lists, in chapter of the Gita, lists all the divine qualities. Hari Gita lists 64 qualities. There are all kinds of lists of these divine qualities. They're incredible. Satyam, Shaucham, Daya, Shantir, Tyaga, Santosha, Arjavam. We'll go through them from the Bhagavatam. My God, if you just reading those qualities, हमारा मन चक्कर में आ जाएगा, ये सब क्या बात है? How this is possible? To even get one of those qualities opened up is a very big thing in life. But we're talking about the full range of saintly qualities are fully opened, और इसका अहंकार नहीं है. My God, this is called adhyatma. Isko pure adhyatma. Sachin promised you all, and promised myself also, that only the 100% actual adhyatma is going to be presented. Because somewhere it has to be presented. Somewhere, without any dilution, without any kind of distortion, without any kind of groupism, without any kind of rag, dvesh, klesh, aham, mamatva, and all that terrible nonsense. None of that is in this. This is the real adhyatma. It's in the scriptures. It's written by the great sages. So all Sachin is doing is just taking it from one place and offering it to the world in a certain exposition. That's all. But it's 100% ghee, chokhu ghee. That's what this is. Look at these lines. These 4 lines, when I've been listening to these for the last 25 years, these 4 lines, 25 years, it's new each time. Heard it thousands of times maybe, this particular bhajan. Santa Jan Soi Sada Mohe Bhave. Kya baat hai? What power? And once these 4 lines come inside of us, and we try to live according to this, we pray to our Ishta Devata, we pray to all the great sages and to all the incarnations of God that you bring this into my life. This is called prarthana. Isko kehte hai prarthana. Kiski tayari hai? Boliye. Who's ready to see God face to face? If this happens, God will come running after you. भगवान स्वयं हाथ जोड़ के आते हैं भक्त के पास कि मैं आपकी क्या सेवा करूं. If you have this, if a person has these qualities, Bhagwan, all the incarnations of Paramatma, all the sages, all the devatas, the whole reality starts running after that person. This happened in the life of Parvat Bhai, who is a householder devotee of Bhagwan Swaminarayan. The 24 incarnations used to run after him because he was in this state. If anybody goes into this sthiti, the incarnations of God will start running after you. It's unimaginable. We cannot imagine these things. This is Adhyatma. The last line. Pinda Brahmanda se Paranija Atma Jani ke mama guna gave Muktananda kahat yuhi mohan Soi jan santa kahave. Pinda Brahmand Pind meaning this body, this physical body is called Pind. And the Brahmand, the Virat Purush, the Brahmand. Isko Brahmand, all the 14 lokas and all. What is beyond the Pind and the Brahmand? The Atma Chaitanya, who we are. Pind Brahmand se par nij Atma. My own self is beyond all of this. Jani ke mama guna. Recognize the Atma Chaitanya. Recognize Nijatmanam Brahma Rupam Dehatraya Vilakshanam Vibhavetena Kartavya Bhakti Krishnasya Sarvada. Recognize the Atma Chaitanya. That is what Shankaracharyaji's teachings are, Advait Vedanta. Recognize the Atma Chaitanya. That who am I and who am I not? Shivoham, not Jivoham. There's a big difference. Huge difference, right? So I won't go too much into that right now, but this is to recognize that we are Atma Chaitanya, Janike. Understand first, then realize. Pinda Brahmanda se para nija Atma. Nij Atma, Nij meaning your own self, actual. Janike mama guna gave. To be in that Atmic consciousness, Akshar consciousness. Or Bhagwan ke gun gana. Bhagwan ki bhakti karna. In that Atmic state, Brahmic state, not in the state of the body conscious, body bhav with rag, dvesh, klesh, mamatva, aham. Not, we do bhakti like that. Do you know what that is like? It is like making beautiful khichdi. Everybody makes khichdi, right? With vegetables and potatoes and different beans and all kinds of things. You can put all kinds of kajus and all those things inside there. Lentils and rice and everything. But what if you take 100 tiny stones and put it inside there? Majayega? What will the khichdi is not the problem. You put stones inside there. Can you eat that khichdi? What if you put 1 cup of dirt inside there? Can we eat that khichdi? No. No way. The khichdi is not the problem. The food is not the problem. The dirt is the problem. Similarly, the dirt that is inside our minds, that we are putting inside bhakti. The bhakti we do, sadhana bhakti, is to clean up that dirt, sift it out, get rid of that thing. So when bhakti reaches that point where all the dirt is gone, all the rag, dvesh, klesh, mamatva, ahan, all that, I don't want to even repeat those things. That thing is out. Then Bhagwan ki jo real bhakti chalu hoti hai. That's what Muktanand Swami is saying here. Pinda Brahmand se paranija atma jani ke mama guna gave. Muktananda kahat you Mohan. Mohan meaning Bhagwan Krishna. Hey Prabhu. Muktanand, because the poets write their name at the end like this, who's written the poem. Hey Prabhu. You hi Mohan. Muktananda kahat you Mohan. That means that this is how God is to be realized. Soi jana santa kahave. Soi jana santa. That when you have all of these qualities, there is brimming parama vivek and amazing, right? Sabaguna purana parama viveki shar akshar aru akshara paraki sabahi samajur. Kya baat? What unbelievable language is in this. Soi jana santa kahave. This is called true sadhu. This is called true sant. Isko kehte mahamanav. Isko kehte Bhagwan ka swarup. Kiski tayari hai? Jiski tayari hai, aa jao maidan mein. What is that maidan? What is that ring, boxing ring? It is not a boxing ring to box anybody out. It is a boxing ring to remove all the agnan from inside. Agnan timirandasya gnananjana shalakaya chakshurum militamena tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. With that, we'll continue tomorrow. Om Vakratunda Mahakaya Suryakoti Samaprabha Nirvigram Kurame Deva Sarvakarasha Sarvadam Aim Brim Klim Chamundaye Viche Swaha. Shri Durga Rakshani Thatha Swaha. Shri Radha Krishnaya Namo Namaha.